time we're going to go ahead and send the kids off to Child's Song. Give the pastor and player a chance to get breath. Yeah, sure. So newcomers class will be starting May 1st. I'll actually be talking about it during the teaching. So, see, I was going to seamlessly weave that in, but thanks anyway. We'll get there in a little bit. What on earth are we doing? That's the title of the message this week. What on earth are we doing? There was an interesting, speaking of eBay, there was anybody ever heard of this book, Jim and Casper Go to Church? You may not have. Jim Henderson is a pastor, and he offered on eBay, he's bought an atheist. An atheist offered to sell his services, and Jim Henderson bought him. And the atheist was a man named Matt Casper. And what the deal was is Jim Henderson bought an atheist to go to church with him for a year, to try out different churches. And the reason that Jim Henderson did this was not to convert Matt Casper, although he's tried, and so far with no success. But he wanted to see what an outsider really thought. Somebody who would only go to church if you were paid. What would he really think of the various churches? And they went around and they traveled, they visited all sorts of churches. Big churches, mega churches, small churches, all sorts of churches. And they wrote a book, and this is the book called Jim and Casper Go to Church. And the thing one of the things that really struck me, one of the things that Matt Casper said the most, he actually turned out to be a very reasonable guy. He said that, in fact, this guy, as an atheist, he says it's one thing to be an atheist, it's another thing to be an anti-theist. And he said he's an atheist, but he doesn't understand all the hostility in the recent slew of books by Hitchens and some of the Dawkins and some of those guys. But anyway, as they began to they did this sort of movie review thing of churches. They would walk out, they'd take their laptops. See Cindy over there pretends to be taking notes, but she's really doing critiques. They would pull out their laptops and they would do critiques of the Sunday morning, and then they would try not to draw any attention, then they'd kind of talk about it. And Jim Henderson, so one of the things that was really interesting that Jim Casper, or Matt Casper kept saying, one of the things that came up a lot, is that they would leave, and sometimes he'd say, I enjoyed that. That was an enjoyable service. Matt Casper is a musician, so when they'd go and they put on a big production, he was always had an interesting eye for all that. And sometimes he'd come out and he'd say, it was really good, I really enjoyed it. But he would say, but there's this frustrating thing about a lot of these churches. And Jim said, well, what is it? And Matt said, I don't know what on earth they want me to do. I come into this church, we talk, we spend the whole time together, but I thought the churches were supposed to be doing something. And I don't understand what it is I'm supposed to do. I mean, I know, am I just supposed to walk forward? Is that it? And in one sense, in terms of the salvation message, he may have been balking at how simple it was. But I think in another real sense, he didn't have a chance to see what the church's purpose really was. What was the church doing? So this morning, I wanted to talk just a little bit, what on earth are we doing? What on earth are we doing? And we've talked about this, and we'll keep talking about it. But specifically, there's a specific topic, and the topic is stewardship. But you know what, when you say that, it's interesting. I even went online, I was kind of looking at, what are some good illustrations, or good videos, or good things on stewardship? And 99% of them are all about money. And I'm not just talking about money this morning. I'm not just trying to get a larger tithe. In fact, you guys are very generous and committed with your tithes, and we're doing fine. But I want to talk about stewardship in general. The large idea, the big idea. What is it that we are stewards of? What is it that God has called us to do? And I actually want to go there this morning by way of something that's unusual in an evangelical church. All right? Something that we may not always talk about. But I want to point it out. I want to get you to think about it a little bit, because sometimes we get put in boxes that I think we'd rather not be in. So I want to confuse you all a little bit and play with the box walls just a little bit, if I can. Before we do, though, I would like to seamlessly make an announcement that has already been made. On May 1st, we're going to start newcomers class. So for those of you who have not been through the newcomers class, I want you to understand this is where you find out what on earth we're doing. We talk about what are called our 6 big ideas, the things that we as a church are founded upon. We are founded first and foremost upon Jesus Christ. We are Christ followers. We are His disciples. That is what we do. But there are these 6 big ideas that we think are important for us as a church. I'm not going to explain them. There they are. There's the list. You can read them, but if you want more information, the newcomers class is one great place to get that. I really want to encourage any of you, and I know some of you have been with Rio West and or Lifesong for years, and the title throws you off. Okay, so I thought about changing the title, but I wasn't creative enough to come up with anything right this moment. So for now, it's called a newcomers class, but it's okay if you, I go to the newcomers class. I've been around for a while. So if you want to come, if you haven't been to the Lifesong newcomers class, I want to encourage you to come. You won't lose any benefits, or you get all the same salvation that everybody else does, even if you don't come. But and you're part of the unity. But I just want to encourage you to come. It's going to start May 1st, and the newcomers class is 2 weeks. And at the end of that 2 weeks, there's an opportunity to go through another 6-week class after that. But that's up to you. If you want to commit just to the first 2 weeks, it'd be great. So think about that. And we'll have sign up for that soon. That is an awesome picture. Isn't that a cool picture? Look at the little tiny people up there. And the majesty of that mountain. And the majesty of those people there. I want to just read to you something as you look at some of these pictures here. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty, and darkness was over the surface of the deep. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters, and God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw that the light was good, and He separated the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness He called night. And there was evening, and there was morning the first day. And God said, "Let there be an expanse between the waters to separate water from water." So God made the expanse and separated the water under the expanse from the water above it, and it was so. And God called the expanse sky. And there was evening, and there was morning the second day. And God said, "Let the water under the sky be gathered to one place, and let dry ground appear." And it was so. And God called the dry ground land, and the gathered waters He called seas, and God saw that it was good. And then God said, "Let the land produce vegetation, seed-bearing plants, and trees on the land that bear fruit with seeds in it, according to their various kinds." And it was so. And the land produced vegetation, plants bearing seeds according to their kinds, and trees bearing fruit with seed in it according to their kinds. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning the third day. And God said, "Let there be lights in the expanse of the sky, to separate the day from the night, and let them serve as signs to mark seasons and days and years. And let them be lights in the expanse of the sky, to give light on the earth." And it was so. And God made 2 lights, the greater light to govern the day, and the lesser light to govern the night. And He also made the stars, and God set them in the expanse of the sky to give light on the earth, to govern the day and the night, and to separate light from darkness. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the fourth day. And God said, "Let the water teem with living creatures, and let the birds fly above the earth across the expanse of the sky." And so God created the great creatures of the sea, and every living and moving thing with which the water teems according to their kinds, and every winged bird according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. And God blessed them and said, "Be fruitful and increase in number, and fill the water in the seas, and let the birds increase on the earth." And there was evening, and there was morning the 5th day. And God said, "Let the land produce living creatures according to their kinds, livestock, creatures that move along the ground, and wild animals, each according to its kind." And it was so. And God made the wild animals according to their kinds, the livestock according to their kinds, and all the creatures that move along the ground according to their kinds. And God saw that it was good. God did a cool thing, didn't He? Amen. There He is for all of eternity. But He has this plan for all of eternity. He has this plan to create. And He creates the universe. And He creates the world. And God says, it's good. It is good. I just grabbed some pictures, just some random pictures to show you up here, just to help maybe give you that sense of it's good. You see these things and you think how good it is. How cool it is. And then God said this, "Let us make man in our image and our likeness. And let them rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air, over the livestock, over all the earth, and over all the creatures that move along the ground." So God created man in His own image. In the image of God He created him. Male and female He created them. And God blessed them and said to them, "Be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air, and over every living creature that moves on the ground." And God said, "I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth, and every tree that has fruit with seed in it. They will be yours for food, and to all the beasts of the earth, and all the birds of the air, and all the creatures that move on the ground, everything that has the breath of life in it, I give every green plant for food." And it was so.